Ground control to Major Tom.
Good morning. I have to confess I've slightly lost my train of thought due to an incident taking place at Talk Radio. Isn't it frustrating when you hear about an incident on the radio? You're listening to the travel and you hear that there's congestion at such and such due to an incident. You want to know what it is, don't you? It's not rubbernecking. It's natural, journalistic, human curiosity. That's all journalists are, you know, super curious, superhuman. I can't remember what it was we were going to discuss in this hour of the programme, and yet, talking to the lovely Kate, it occurred to me that Jewish humour is worth talking about. It's important to talk about it for the first time. Not until 1998, the year of our Lord, has it been, I think, acceptable to ask a simple question whether Jews are comfortable with Jewish humour. For we are always told that they are, and we are always told that, as with the Irish, you are more likely to hear a good joke about Jews from a Jewish person. Or should we simply not be talking about it? I don't think so. I think that's an old-fashioned stereotyped idea that we don't talk about these things. It fell into the conversation when I was talking with Kate a couple of moments ago, because Henny Youngman, one of the great Jewish stand-up comedians, and this is a distinguished and particular thing in American vaudeville, the Jewish stand-up comedian. And it goes back through, obviously, Jack Benny, and it takes in Jerry Lewis and Danny Kaye, people who cut their teeth in the Catskill Mountains, where the Jewish communities in America had a string of holiday camps which were identical to our Butlins and Pontins and Warner Brothers, and it meant that Jewish families could go and enjoy themselves for a couple of weeks out of the year, and their sons and daughters who fancied the spotlight could try out their skills. And some of them made it, and plenty of them made it very, very big. Henny Youngman, who died yesterday, aged 92, was actually a Londoner. He was born in Whitechapel, a bit like Bob Hope, who was born over here, but then made it big over there. But he made a huge career, not just out of Jewish humour, but of slating his wife in a particularly Jewish way. Are you Jewish? Free call 0500 1053 89. Hang on, there's more to it than that, obviously. Do you know any good Jewish jokes? Do you tell them? How do you feel about other people telling jokes about you and yours? Because jokes told about any section of the community, whoever they are, whether they are students, whether they are Guardian readers, whoever they are, if a joke is told about you and you think it applies to you and yours, surely a frisson of indignation, at the very least, runs courses through your nervous system, does it not? Free call 0500 1053 89. The first time I heard a Jewish joke and allowed myself to laugh out loud without thinking for one moment that I was in any way engaged in anything racist happened in a film called Airplane. And the line came from a stewardess who was offering a passenger some light reading material. And he asked if she had anything very short to read, and she said, how about this leaflet, Great Jewish Sporting Histories? And it was very short, and the implication being that Jews don't make great sportsmen and women. And one was able to laugh out loud enormously because the film was produced by the Zucker brothers. The Zucker brothers, of course, being Jewish, coming from the same stable as the Mel Brookses and the Henny Youngmans and the Jack Bennys, et al., et al., et al. So I laughed out loud, and it felt good because they were telling a joke about themselves. How can you not laugh? Why should you feel any guilt about that if somebody is telling a joke effectively against themselves? And on the subject of sport, it's very interesting that so many cases are coming to court at the moment. So much exposure is being given to the business of cheating in sport. And there's a court case which could actually deliver its verdict whilst we're on air this afternoon, in which one of the two sporting papers in this country, you've got the Racing Post and the Sporting Life it is, owned by the Mirror, are being sued for libel by two trainers and a jockey. Well, it's the two trainers who've taken out the action because it's been suggested that they cheat. Loads of allegedlys, by the way, backdated into that remark. I don't know about you. I like horse racing. I like cricket. I like football. All these boxing. All these sports which have recently been the subject of allegations that skullduggery takes place. And I have to tell you that if it does, in my case, hand on heart, I like that. It all adds to the intrigue as far as I'm concerned. Free call 0500 1053 89. And what is your favourite Jewish joke? I've got a book at home which I should have brought in today, but then I didn't know we were going to be talking about this, by Leo Rostin, I think his name is, and it's called The Joys of Yiddish. It's a fantastic book, and he illustrates a lot of colloquial Yiddish by telling jokes which involve the Yiddish term that he's illustrating. And my favourite, I think, is about the Jewish man who retires into the middle of the Midwest of America, and finds it very difficult to fit in, and the man over the fence, because he's having trouble finding friends, the man over the fence suggests to him that he should take a paramour. A paramour. A paramour. And I'll explain in a second. Nobody here knows what a paramour is. I hope you do. And he said, but what will my wife think? And the other guy says, why should she care how you cut the lawn? A paramour is a lover. A power mower isn't. I didn't tell Jewish jokes when I was a professional comic, and I'm not going to start now. Free call 0500 1053 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There is a good argument for listening. Discussing Jewish humour as a way of hearing Jewish jokes, because they're good. Suzanne calls from Oxford. You're on Talk Radio, Suzanne.
Hey, Tommy, why do Jewish men die before their wives?
I don't know. Why do Jewish men die before their wives?
They want to.
They want to. Are you Jewish?
Of course.
Marvellous. What else you got?
I can't think of anything at the moment that is appropriate for broadcast at this hour.
I should care. You listen to the show. Does it matter?
Yes, I mean, and last time I spoke with you, you were trying to issue everybody in the emergency services with royal typewriters.
I remember it well.
Yes,
no, I
you
don't
didn't
actually
approve of teaching people to write anymore.
That's right.
But anyway, so I thought I'd get you with a good one there.
I'm grateful, and you certainly did. Free call 0500 1053 89. The Irish hear jokes about them suggesting that they are slow on the uptake. The Scots hear jokes told about themselves that they are tight with money. The Welsh, we don't do Welsh jokes. The English, though, you see, the Germans are hyper-efficient and barely human. They're androids, they're robots. Americans, you don't get too many American jokes, except they tend to be loudmouth show-offs. But the Jews, all humour, let me tell you this, and Eric Morecambe, who was Jewish, would bear this out. All humour is two Jewish men arguing. It's interesting. Think about it. Think about Steptoe and Son, and Hancock and Sid James, if you like, and men behaving badly. It's all Jewish men arguing. That's all humour is. And it's so true. So thank you. Thank you to the Jews for giving us comedy, for giving us humour. Right, that's the academic stuff out of the way. Let's get some more Jewish jokes. Carl calls from London. Carl, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. A Scotsman, an Englishman and a Jew go for a meal together. Mm-hmm. And when the bill comes up, it's about £50. So the Englishman says, good Lord, that's a bit stiff. And the Scotsman says, oh, that's all right, I'll pay it. And next day there's a headline in the local newspaper, Jewish ventriloquist found strangled.
Very good. Very good.
So we have the same reputation as the Jews, you see, the Scots. So the joke's worth, but that joke, you could reverse that, of course, depending on not whether you're a Jew or a Scot. Who does the strangling?
Sure.
You know?
You've got this cliche that the Scots are tight and the Jews are tight, and a lot of humour is derived from that. But there are so many other vein of humour running through Jewishness, Carl.
That's right, yeah. A lady stood up in the middle of a cinema and said, is there a doctor in the house? And a man stood up on the other far side of the cinema and said, yes. And she says, how'd you like to meet a nice Jewish girl?
It's aspirational stuff.
Yeah.
And even, I don't know if you've seen, what's that new Asian comedy that's on BBC?
Oh, yeah, goodness gracious me.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah, they sound like taffies, don't they?
Did you see the one where the two Indian or Pakistani, I don't know.
Indians, because it's all very risque. There's no Muslim stuff there.
They were Muslims, right? Yeah. And they were distraught because their son had turned his back on Islam and had become Jewish.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And, you know, and I felt I was roaring with laughter at this Jewish Indian boy.
Yeah.
But, of course, I wasn't roaring with laughter at an Indian. Again, I was being asked to laugh at Jewishness.
Yeah. Yeah, but they had the same joke with a homosexual in that with the two Indians. The son brought home his male lover, like, you know,
Yes.
and they were really distraught. And eventually they reconciled themselves to it, and eventually they said, "But couldn't you have found a nice Indian boy, you know?"
Thank you, Carl, for your call. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm racking my brains to remember some of the material that's in this book that I've got at home. Really didn't know we were going to be talking about this today, but that's how it is with conversation, and that's all we do between 2 and 4. There's plenty of other places where more regular phone-in happens, and that's great. But between 2 and 4, it's not like that. There isn't an expert up there and the likes of us down here. It's just us. And found myself talking about the fact that Henny Youngman died. And so Jewish humour, it's interesting, isn't it? And comforting in a way that Jewish people, generally speaking, not always, I'm sure, but generally speaking, seem comfortable about having a laugh at some of the cliches, which, again, you don't know, may or may not be true. I was in Israel working, and the guy I was working with, who was an Israeli, was learning English. And I was driving the minibus, and he was telling me whether the traffic was clear coming from the left, because I was turning out. And it was clear my way. And I said, "Okay, left." And he said, "You're all right after the bus." So the bus went, and I pulled out into a lorry. And he said, "I said you are all right after the bus." And I said, "Yeah, but that's a lorry." But he wouldn't have it. And for the rest of the time I was out there, we argued about his interpretation of my language, lest he be wrong. But the point is this: he knew, and he loved it, and it was great, and we had a great time. Very, very funny. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Maybe we should all be Jewish. If it wasn't for Jesus. Maria calls from Bedford. You're on Talk Radio. Maria.
Which brings me on to one of my favourite sayings with my Jewish friends is, I'm saving up to be Jewish. You save up to be Jewish, wouldn't you, Tommy?
Would you have me?
And one of my favourite jokes is, what's the Jewish girl's favourite wine?
Yes.
I want to go shopping.
Yeah.
The Jewish comedians are hysterical. My boyfriend took me to see Jackie Mason a few years back at the Albert Hall, and I couldn't catch on to everything that he was saying, but it was hysterical about everybody wearing their labels on the outside, and there are all these people with their big gold Moschino belts, and it's laughing at yourself is good fun. And then, goodness gracious me, you're talking about that as well, which it sort of opens it out a bit to that. That was one of the funniest. There's not much I can sit and watch on TV that's funny, but with goodness gracious me, I found myself sitting there on my own some Monday night and laughing hysterically out loud, which is unusual when you're watching TV. And one of the good scenes was when all the Indians went out with their Indian mates to an English restaurant. Did you see that one? And they sat down, they ordered 24 bread rolls, please. Like, what's the blandest thing you've got on the menu?
Yes. I did.
It's good, and it's good that we laugh.
And you find yourself laughing at aspects of Asian culture which you were not aware of, but because they're revealed to you with, inside these sketches, you can recognise why a lot of Asian people, why some sort of Anglophile Asians find these aspects of their own culture ridiculous.
Quite bizarre, yeah.
Yeah, and so you're laughing, you're really laughing on their side, aren't you?
The mothers, as you got to take danger. It's so funny. You're making me laugh again this afternoon. This is great. And I want to marry Billy Crystal. So anybody else out there, stand in line.
Yeah, you do.
He is the funniest.
Can you do that bit from the film? Go on, go for it. Come on.
I can.
Come on. You imagine them auditioning for it.
Well, you got to cue me in then.
Who got it? Sally Field?
No.
Who was she?
The other one, Meg Ryan.
Yeah, go ahead. All right, do it then. Oh my God,
I can't do it.
Very good.
I've got a good memory, haven't I?
Yes, you do, kiddo. What was that film called again?
When Harry Met Sally.
When Harry Met Sally. And that is a Jewish film.
It is.
About being Jewish.
It is.
Oh,
it's
glorious.
great.
I love you all.
I'm going to enjoy the afternoon.
We love you all.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya, bye.
Bye now. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I suppose the programme is an obituary to Henny Youngman. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There is a good argument for listening. So we find ourselves talking about the Jews, which is great. Free call 0500 10 53 89. And people talk about Jewish conspiracies. And they've even talked about a Jewish conspiracy in connection with Saddam, haven't they? You've seen it with Madeleine Albright, etc., etc. Ridiculous. Because how can people with such a fantastic sense of humour conspire about anything? They'd be in fits of giggles in 5 minutes, for sure. Wish I was Jewish. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Alan calls from London. You're on Talk Radio. Alan, good afternoon. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Come on, Plonker, get to the phone. You know how it works. You must have been on the radio before. Oh. I think he's gone. And he's gone, and I'll tell you why he's gone. He's gone because what he wanted to say was that it is offensive to talk about Jews. Help me out with this one. There are people like this still, you know. Let's talk to Eddie, who calls from London. No, after Dave in Surrey. Dave, you're on Talk Radio. Eddie's next. Hi, Dave.
Hello, Tommy.
Dave.
I've got a really good Jewish joke, but I'm afraid you've heard it before.
No problem.
I've just realised I first heard it on your show about 3 years ago. Old Jewish guy, goes to the office of his local newspaper. He says, "Hello, my boy, I'd like to place an obituary for my wife." He goes, "Certainly, sorry about the accent, by the way, but I'm trying." He goes, "Certainly, sir, that'll be, certainly, sir, what would you like to put?" Sorry. And he goes, "Well, how much does it cost?" And he says, "Well, it's £1 a word." And the Jewish guy says, "Well, in that case, make it Goldberg dead." And the guy says, "Certainly, sir, that'll be £5, please." And the Jewish guy says, "£5? You said it was £1 a word." And he says, "Well, yes, it is, but I'm afraid there's a minimum charge of £5. The Jewish guy thinks about this for a second. He says, "Okay, then, in that case, make it Goldberg dead, Volvo for sale."
You see, you told me my joke.
It's a cracker, isn't it?
But it's a corker.
It really is.
I knew
It's
what
not
was
often
coming.
I remember a joke, but I remember a guy saying it on your show 3 years ago. Never forgotten it.
I know. I nearly laughed halfway through because I knew what was coming.
It's a
corker,
great punchline, isn't it?
Isn't it a scorcher?
Especially if you are aware of the fact that they do all drive Volvos. Well, the ones that live in Stamford Hill anyway.
Well, we had a Volvo. I did my best. The point is this. You know you apologise for your accent.
Yeah, it wasn't very good, was it? Whenever I try and do a Jewish accent, I think I sound like a Pakistani.
I think it's because part of us believes we shouldn't be doing it.
No, I was apologising because it was so bad.
I know, but part of the reason you thought it was bad and part of the reason it was bad was because you thought you would have put yourself in the firing line if you'd done a decent Jewish accent, because you can do one, can't you?
No, I think it's actually because I'm a lousy mimic. I'd rather it was your theory. But I just think I haven't got the talent to impersonate accents.
Well,
much as I'd like to. Much as I envy people that can.
Nor had Mike Yarwood. And he ended up in counselling. Dave, thank you so much for your call. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Where to? James in Cardiff. And then Eddie. James, you're on Talk Radio. Hello.
Hi, I've got a joke for you.
Excellent.
Right, where do you find the tea bags in a Jewish household?
Don't know.
On the washing line.
Yes, it's...
Do you get it?
Yes, we get it.
Yeah.
It's not really Jewish, is it?
Well, it's sort of saying...
No, it's about Jews, but it's not Jewish. Because it's not quite good enough to be Jewish. Are you with me? I'm not maligning you.
And it's not quite Jewish humour, is it?
No.
It's sort of like against the Jews, that kind of joke.
It isn't. It's like when I'm trying to rack my brains to remember properly about two Jews who go to Rome. And they see the Pope. No, they're tailors, that's it. And one of the brothers, two tailors, one of the brothers goes to Rome for a vacation, and he happens to see the Pope. And when he comes back, he's telling his other mate about it. They're both sat cross-legged in the cliche, you know, on the thing, sewing. And he said, "The Pope, so what's he like?" And the other one goes, "Nice fella, short, probably a 42. No, it is funny, honestly, it is. It is. But the point is, it's humour rather than a joke.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, have you ever seen Leon the Pig Farmer going on about films that you were just talking about?
No.
Oh, right, well, that's a bit of Jewishness in that, and that is quite funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for your call.
Okay.
See you again.
Ta-da.
Bye-bye now. Eddie, stay where you are. For some reason, it's Susie next in Lancashire. You're on Talk Radio. Susie, hello.
Hello. It's a tiny bit risky. A rabbi and the parson were sitting in a train, and they started talking and arguing about the religion, and the priest asked the rabbi, now be truthful, have you ever eaten pork? So the rabbi squirms a bit, and then he confesses he has. So the parson grins and says, nice, isn't it? And then he sulks a bit, the rabbi, and after a while he grins and looks up to the parson and says, have you ever been, it's a Catholic priest, by the way, he said, have you ever been with a woman? So it's the priest's turn to squirm, and then he says, well, yes. And so the rabbi grins and says, nicer than pork, isn't it? Oh.
Yeah, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta.
Don't you think it's funny?
Yes, I do.
Well, you didn't laugh.
No, I'm not going to fake a laugh. I can't do it. But it's a nice joke. And you told it. It's a nice joke, and you told it well.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for your call. So anyway, the phone rings, right, at Zucker, 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 and Zucker. And the voice at the other end says, can I speak to Mr. Zucker? And the person who picks up the phone says, I'm afraid Mr. Zucker is in court this morning. So the voice says, can I speak then to Mr. Zucker? And the person who picks up the phone says, I'm sorry, Mr. Zucker won't be in until the afternoon. So the voice at the other end says, in that case, could I speak to Mr. Zucker? And the person who's picked up the phone says, I'm sorry, Mr. Zucker is unwell. So the voice at the other end says, in that case, could I speak to Mr. Zucker? And the person says, speaking. You see, there's so much in that joke. You know, it's a corker. I'm sorry, it is funny. It is funny. It could only be Jewish. Oh, thank God for the Jews. David calls from London. You're on Talk Radio. David, good afternoon. Hang in there, Eddie.
Hello.
David.
Hi. Have you seen the film Independence Day?
Yes, I have.
Now, do you remember Jeff Goldblum's father when he said the prayer where the word was just facing the attack?
Yes.
And one of the participants who wasn't Jewish, he said, but I'm not Jewish. And his reply was, don't worry, not everybody's perfect.
Yes.
Which I thought was quite funny.
Yes.
But if you want to hear a joke,
yes,
right, I've got one.
Okay.
There's a Jew, a Christian, and a Muslim having a heated discussion and debate about whose God is the right one, is the perfect one. And they've decided to do a little bit of an experiment, and the Christian starts, he draws a circle on the ground, and he says, I've got a wad of money, I'm going to throw it up in the air, whatever falls inside the circle is mine, what's outside is God's. Well, he throws the money up, some of it falls in the circle, he takes it, he said the rest is God's. The Muslim draws a circle, he throws some of the money up, some of it falls in the circle, some outside, he takes the money, he said the rest is God's. Well, the Jew said, well, so I've got a better idea. He said, I'll throw the money up. Whatever stays up is his. What falls down is mine.
Yes, cute. Nice.
Okay.
No, not just about being withholding with money, but about being smart.
And by the way, Tom, I'm Jewish myself, and I'll tell you what, have the debate for as long as you want. It's not offensive, it's funny, and if you take it in the right way, it's right, it's okay.
This is why we love you guys.
It's okay. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, and of course you don't mind us who aren't Jews. God, I wish I was Jewish, but I mean, you know, I wish I was black and Jewish. Well, black, gay, and Jewish. Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what. Once when hello. When I worked for a company in the past, and I was a director, and I had a co-director who was Scottish. And it's funny, when we went to see customers together, they looked at us, and obviously when we knew them better, they knew the situation. He said, you two guys, between a Jew and a Scot, nothing goes past.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was a toss-up. I'll tell you what, although it gets no publicity, I think the Jews are better at football than the Scots.
I don't know.
Not a good Jew.
I'll take your word for it.
Well, okay, that's fair. Listen, thanks for your call. It is a point. In fact, there's a Jewish controversy going through football at the moment because West Ham United have a Jewish player. The funny thing is, how do they know that? I don't know how Blackburn allegedly discovered that one of the West Ham players was Jewish, and so alluded to this fact apparently in a derogatory way. And again, not that the player apparently complained, but that other players who heard about these remarks being made, heard the remarks, made the complaint. So it's being discussed. And racism in sport, obviously, is a bad thing and doesn't want to happen. But I would have thought if the guy wasn't that bothered about it, then, you've got to let it go. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Oh, we're talking about this and that. And it's all spun off the fact that Henny Youngman died yesterday. Probably one of the last comedians of that type, although we mustn't forget that Hollywood's greatest ever comedy filmmaker, Woody Allen, began his career as a Jewish stand-up comic in the Catskill Mountains, just the same as Henny Youngman, Danny Kaye, Jack Benny. The list is literally endless. They all started there. Susan calls from Devon. You're on Talk Radio. Eddie, hang in there. We will get to you.
Hello?
Susan.
Yes.
You're on Talk Radio.
Yeah, I'm very nervous. You have to bear with me. First of all, I'd like to say that I think that the humour that you're talking about is really of the old school, and it's dying now with the younger generations coming up. They don't seem to have, or we don't seem to have, the same humour that our grandparents did. I'll give you, for instance, with my mother-in-law. When my daughter was born 20 years ago, we were walking along Edgware Road, and she saw a friend of hers. And her friend said to her, "Is this the new baby?" So she said, "Yes, this is my Barry's new daughter." So she hadn't got much hair, has she? So she said, "Oh, thank God, with that face, she doesn't need it." But you wouldn't get that sort of humour from a young girl today.
True enough. It's a joke.
It wasn't, actually. It's a true story.
I know, but it's a good joke.
It's a good joke, but the joke that I was going to tell you was about a mature lady decided to have her portrait painted. And when the artist had finished, she decided it wasn't quite enough, so she asked him to put some diamond earrings on the portrait. And then, after that, she wanted a beautiful diamond necklace with a matching bracelet and ring. And that wasn't enough either, so she decided to have a tiara. And after a while, the artist said to her, "Why are you asking me, Mrs. Bloomberg, to put all this jewellery? You're not wearing it." So she said, "Because if that husband of mine ever remarries, or God forbid I should die, and the new wife is going to want to know what's happened to the jewellery." You're not laughing.
No, I'm not laughing. No, it was a story, really, wasn't it? You didn't tell it as a joke.
Well, if you need to speak to my husband, he would have said it as a joke, and you would have laughed. I'm very nervous, and I'm not very good at telling jokes. So really, I suppose I shouldn't have rung.
You've done a great job, and it's been nice having you on the radio. And
okay.
I look forward to the next time we talk and all that. But no, I mean, jokes is jokes. There's a mechanism about telling a joke.
Oh, there is. It's a talent.
No, it's a science. No,
it's a talent. I've never told a good joke in my life.
Well, okay. Tommy Trinder, who, I don't know if he was Jewish, but anyway, he was a great comedian, and I worked with him for 2 summers as a sort of an under act, and he told me 10 golden rules, and he said, "You do these 10 things, boy," he said, "you'll be funny. They'll laugh." He said, "It might make you a comedian, it might not, but they will laugh," and he just told me these 10 things. I could tell you them now.
Go on, then.
I won't tell you them all, because they're trade secrets, but, I mean, one, he said, is, you must make the audience laugh as quickly as possible if they don't know who you are. If they know who you are, and everybody knew who he was, he could saunter out onto the stage, take his time removing the microphone from the stand, and look at them, okay? And they'd laugh, because they knew he was funny, so they'd start laughing before he did anything.
Right.
He said, but you're starting out. He said, you've got to get a laugh quick, otherwise they get nervous. He said, so my advice to you is, as soon as you're introduced, run towards the microphone and trip over, and fall flat on your face. He said, they will laugh, because audiences are pathetic like that. You'll have got a laugh, and then you're in. That was number one. Get your first laugh as quickly as you can. And he told me 9 other things like that, which, I mean, I'll tell you the last one. Tell them you're going. Always finish your routine with, I must just tell you this before I go. And make sure it's a good joke. Because then the audience will not only laugh, but they will clap.
And they'll remember you.
No, the theatre manager will hear you getting a round of applause and a laugh. And he will think you're good, and he'll book you again.
And did it work?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Tragically, it did. Most of it did,
Okay.
Listen,
right.
I'm grateful you called.
Okay, nice to speak to you.
You ring again, yeah?
Yes, I shall do.
Good. Free call 0500 10 53 89. This show is famed for the way it treats, especially new callers, gently and caresses them onto the air. Not. Cameron calls from Edinburgh. You're on Talk Radio, Cameron.
Hi there, how you doing? You were talking earlier on there about the Jews take offence, sort of thing, the comedy that's directed towards them. Yeah, you only need to look at Mel Brooks, a guy who's made his career out of poking fun at his own religion, if you like.
Yeah.
All throughout his films, he's consistently poked fun at the Jews, and if you ever hear him getting interviewed again, he's sort of poking fun at the Jews.
Did you ever hear Mel Brooks's 2,000-year-old man sketch?
Not that I recall, no.
He used to do it with Carl Reiner, who was a writer, and they used to, at Hollywood parties, be asked to stand up and do the 2,000-year-old man sketch. Carl Reiner would be the interviewer, and Mel Brooks would be a man who'd been alive for 2,000 years. And the audience would shout out, do us Henry VIII, or do us, you know, the Russian Revolution. And they'd have to improvise 20 minutes of it. But the most popular one was, do us Jesus. What was he like? And Brooks would always start it off with, so Carl Reiner would say, so Jesus, did you meet him? And Brooks would go straight into the Jewish thing. Meet him! Meet him! He was always in the shop. Never bought a thing. And as you rightly point out, it was all based on the warm humour.
That's right. I mean, for history of the world, right up, I mean, the funniest film, personally, I think, ever was Blazing Saddles. And again, that's littered with sort of Jewish humour. And there's a bit that I've been racking my brain since you called, since you were talking, trying to remember, and I can only remember the punchline, where I think they're trying to decide how they're going to punish the black sheriff, or the black guy who's going to go on and become the sheriff. And they're running through a list of punishments, and they're going on, and each time he's saying, no, that's no good, and that one's no good, and then one of them's far too Jewish. I can't remember what the punishment is, you know.
Yes. One of my favourite bits of that is when they're trying to get into the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah. You forgot to wash your hands this morning.
So much dodgy stuff. If you did jokes about the Ku Klux Klan or even made light of anything like that on the radio, you know, you'd be up before the authorities. I promise you, it happens.
There's too much of it, but everything's got far too PC. There's not enough.
I know. It's such a straitjacket, isn't it? What's the joke? Oh, yes, that's it. The white guy who's played by Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman? No, Gene
Wilder.
Thank you. Gene Wilder pretends that he's caught the black sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
And then the black sheriff is kind of on a rope and he's going, where the white women at? Where the white women? You know.
It's just a film when you can go all the way through it from start to finish.
I know.
You know,
it's art.
You know, help me.
Yeah, it's art, man. It really is. And up to a point, I don't mind being a cliche either, because if I go to America, I act the English cliche. I either go David Niven or Dick Van Dyke. You know, and I either sort of start at about 3:30, start going, I assume we are stopping at 4 for a cup of tea. And they love it. Or else you do the whole kind of chimney routine. Have you been to America?
Never, no.
When you go to America, as Cameron from Edinburgh, man, you will never, ever have to put your hand in your pocket. They'll love you. Just be very Scottish.
Turn Jewish as well, then.
Are you Jewish?
No, I'm saying turn Jewish if I've never got to put my hand in my pocket.
Are there any Scots Jews called Cameron?
I don't know. No, that would be a good cross, but no, a Scottish Jew.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Thanks for your call. Go on. Cheers now. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Henny Youngman died yesterday, age 92. Probably America's most famous Jewish stand-up comedian. Well, I have to say, it's as well to leave this point to this point in the programme. He wasn't very funny, actually. He wasn't. I don't know why. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is... Hey, Eddie's hung on. Eddie in London.
Hello, Tommy.
Eddie, thanks for hanging on.
Not at all. I'm sorry to hear about the death of Henny Youngman, but I must agree with you. I don't think he was all that funny. He was known as the king of the one-liners. I heard a program about him some time ago, and they called him the king of the one-liners. But even up to the age of about 85, he was still advertising himself in some of the stage papers for the mitzvahs and weddings and such like. Now, you reeled off a few of the well-known Jewish comedians, but you left off some very eminent ones. How about Sid Caesar, Milton Berle, Alan King, George Burns? All wonderful comedians.
Did you see the Sid Caesar show?
Yes, I did, with all those writers, yes.
Where he's a fly?
Exactly.
A Jewish fly.
Oh, yeah.
And he's on the ceiling. and his mate comes and joins him and he says, how's the family?
He was
13 million. I have 13 million children.
That was a very long-running television show in the States called Show of Shows.
I know. 13 million children.
Yes.
And there's a pause. And then he turns to the other side and goes, all girls. Is that Jewish or what?
Yes, it certainly is. I have a joke which I think epitomizes Jewish humour. You set the scene in a little hovel in the East End of London, in a poverty area, and there's a very, very old ancient couple sitting there. And the old lady said to the old man, Harry, close the window, it's cold outside. And he struggles across to the window, closes it, and said, now, Esther, now it's warm outside.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't like it.
I do. It's not a ha-ha.
Uh-huh.
It's a... No, it is...
Yes, it epitomizes, but this one is a sporting one.
Okay.
Perhaps you'll like this one. It's much more topical. There's a very eminent rabbi in Glasgow died, and his family came round to see him in the coffin, and they were absolutely shocked. Instead of being dressed up as a man of cloth, he had the Glasgow Rangers shirt on, a big number 8, shorts, football boots, the lot. And they said, what's this? He said, well, it was his dying wish. We don't believe it. Well, go and see the solicitor. It's in his will. And they went through pages of the will, and on the last page was this codicil. I, Rabbi Cohen, when I die, it is my wish I be buried in the Gaza Strip.
Hey, I like it.
Oh, it's the first time you've laughed.
And I never thought I'd laugh at a joke with the word codicil in it. It's not exactly end of the pier vocabulary, Eddie.
Don't ask me to spell it.
Oh, dear. The 3 crazy codicils. Thank you for your call.
There ain't no sanity clause. You know that
Nice one, boy, yeah. Good one. Thank you, Eddie. Free call 0500 10 53 89. It does do you good to have a laugh. It does. What made you laugh most ever? Only on 2 occasions in my life have I been helpless with laughter, and on both occasions, I don't know what it was that really made me laugh. If I were to repeat the incident, the circumstances, what was said, and how it arrived, I was sober. To you now, you just wouldn't get it. You know that. You know what I'm talking about. Sometimes, you know, you're just away, and you're really enjoying laughing, and you keep yourself laughing. It's a delicious feeling. Endorphins or something. Joan calls from the Merseyside. You're on Talk Radio. Hello, Joan.
Hello, Tommy. My most favourite of all was a tape I have. I've had it years. You don't have to be Jewish. It's funny from beginning to end, but there's one simple little thing on it that never ceases to tickle me. There's this Jewish lady on the plane, and sitting next to her, not with her, is a young lady. And the young lady says to her, excuse me for being rude, but she said, I can't take my eyes off your diamond. It's so huge and magnificent. What is it? She said, well, it's the platonic diamond. She says, believe me, you wouldn't want it.
I got to say, I know this one. I love it. You're telling you're telling it so well.
She said, the platonic diamond, I've never heard of it. She said, oh, you know it's beautiful, she said. It's the platonic diamond, but believe me, you wouldn't want it, she said. With this diamond goes a curse. So the young lady said, oh my God, what's the curse? She said, it's a Mr. Platonic.
It's a Mr. Platonic.
I love that one.
Beautifully done.
Thought you'd like it.
Beautifully done.
Bye-bye.
Oh, all right, then bye-bye. This is the only Jewish joke I've told in public. 20 years ago, you could tell this joke in front of an audience. I don't think you could tell it on the radio. I don't know why. It's about a man who marries a Jewish girl and discovers that he has to attend a Jewish wedding. And in order to do that, he has to visit a rabbi. In front of a Jewish congregation, he has to be quizzed about his intent. And so he makes his way down the aisle, and the rabbi is above him, and he has his Jewish fiancée on his arm. And the rabbi looks down at him and says, what is your name? And he thinks, oh, crikey, I better sing it back. So he sings back, Alan Jones, where are you from? Romford. What is your profession? Rabbi comes back. Moon river wider than a mile. Nice echo. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio. There's... John calls from Essex. You're on Talk Radio, John. Good afternoon.
Hello, Tom.
John boy.
Yeah, Jewish launderer got a shop in the high street, not doing very much business, so he decides to put a notice in the window, and it says, "My name is Glink. What do you think? I'll do your washing on Friday for nothing." And so he gets inundated with loads of washing that week, and on the Saturday morning, a guy goes in and he asks his laundry, and he said, "Oh, that'll be £5, sir." He said, "You've got a notice on your window that says you'll do it for nothing." He said, "Show me." So he took him out to the shop. He said, "What does that say?" He said, "My name is Glink. What do you think? I'll do your washing for nothing on a Friday." He said, "Doesn't say that at all. It reads, my name is Glink. What do you think? I'm going to do your washing on Friday for nothing."
I'm going to do your washing on Friday for nothing. Beautifully said.
Anyway,
yeah.
Jewish Father Christmas comes down a chimney.
Right.
Goes over to bed, wakes the kid up and said, "Do you want to buy a toy?"
You want to buy a toy? Yeah. Parking meter.
Anyway, see you later, Tom. Bye.
Parking meter on the chimney. Yeah. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Stephen calls from London. We'll mop up the business of Jewish
Hello, Tommy.
humour. A
You missed
facile excuse for telling
Tommy.
Jewish jokes. Hello, Stephen.
Yeah, you missed Jackie Mason. He's good.
He's all right, isn't he?
Listen, there was 3 Yiddish mamas. One says, "What does your boy do?" "Mine is a doctor. He's earned £50,000 a year." Now, the other one says, "Mine's a dentist. They earn £60,000 a year." And the third one says, "Mine is a rabbi. I earn £10,000 a year." The other one's turned around. That's a job for a Jewish boy. Listen, I heard Lenny Bruce once. You remember Lenny Bruce?
Yeah.
He was non-PC. So I remember a joke he said. Maybe he's still non-PC.
Yes.
Shall I tell you?
Yes, you must.
Do you want to buy some sweets?
Yeah, I think actually, thanks for the thought. But we won't do that one. Is that okay? I mean, it's a kind of a joke, but we won't do that one on the radio. But
that's the way it is today.
Yes, and thank God. Thank God, Stephen. Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm not going into details. Lawrence calls from Lancashire. Lawrence, you get the last word on this one.
All right. Hi, Tommy.
Hello, boy. Did I do the right thing to get rid of that joke?
I think you did, yes.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I didn't think that one would go out.
Thank you.
This is a half-Jewish joke. There's a little boy, and his mummy's Jewish, his daddy's an Arab. And he goes to his mummy, he says, Mummy, you're Jewish, Daddy's an Arab, what does that make me? She says, look, you're neither one or the other, you're our little boy, we neither your daddy or I practice. When you're older, you'll make your own decision. So he goes to his daddy, he says, Daddy, you're an Arab. Mummy's a Jew, what does that make me? He says, well, look, listen, you've already asked your mummy that question. She's told you, I'll tell you the same thing, and it's very naughty you should do that. What do you want to know for? He says, well, there's a boy down the road selling a bike for £30, and I want to know whether I ought to knock him down or steal it.
Yeah, you can do that one. You can do that one.
Got another one?
Quickly. We ain't got time. Can you do it in 10 seconds? Can you do it in 10 seconds?
10 seconds, all right then, a different one. Schleimer Goldberg gets knocked down in the middle of the street, and a fella comes up and he gets knocked down by a bus. A fella puts the coat underneath his head. He says, Mr. Goldberg, are you comfortable? He says, I'll make a living.
I'll make a living! Thanks for your call. Free call 0500 10 53 89. We'll switch the conversation in the second hour of the programme. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.